David has just finished atoning for a broken covenant sin against the Gibeonites that his predecessor, King Saul, had committed several decades earlier. And while we would hope that things would go well for him and Israel after that, we're immediately told about an outbreak of war once again with the Philistines. Hi, I'm Ken Godevanas. Thank you for joining us today on Digging for Scriptural Gems as we study 2 Samuel 21, verses 15 to 22. The text tells us that David joined his soldiers in the war with the Philistines, and he became very tired. And it appears that another Philistine giant named Ishbi-Benob, I say another because you will remember Goliath that David had killed years earlier. Anyway, Ishbi-Benob's spear weighed 300 shekels of bronze. That's about 7.5 pounds or 3.4 kilograms. He also had a new sword, we are told, or a new something, and his intent was to kill David. But Abishai, Joab's brother, Joab being the general of David's army, struck and killed the Philistine. That was easy. Also, the original does not specify the new thing, as I mentioned, referred to. Doesn't say it was indeed a sword. Could have been something else, but it's an assumption that it was a sword made by some versions of the Bible. The Hebrew text just leaves us hanging as a new something, but not telling us what it was. By the way, Matthew Henry seems to suggest another possibility here. That is, while Abishai struck the giant down, he was helping David, and it was David who actually finished him off after gaining his breath, I guess. And perhaps that is why David is given some credit later on in verse 22, if you look at your Bible. Now, given that experience of a close call, David's men said he was not to go into battle with them again, lest he die, and Israel's lamp would be extinguished. Adam Clarke says the reference to a lamp here is the idea that David is considered as the lamp by which all Israel was guided, and without whom all the nation must be involved in darkness. And then the Philistines waged war again, this time at Gob, and another giant descendant named Saph was struck down by Sibbekai, Sibbecai, the Hushathite. So historically, we have so far 3 Israelites slaying 3 Philistine giants. David slew Goliath, Abishai slew Ishbi-Benob, and Sibbekai slew Saph. But wait, there's more. There's a second battle at Gob with the Philistines, and this time another giant, likely the brother of Goliath the Gittite, was slain by Elhanan, the son of Jair-Oregim, or just Jair, the Bethlehemite. The Bible records that the shaft of this giant's spear was like a weaver's beam. Now hold that thought as to who this giant was, and we'll get back to it in a moment. It gets complicated. And once more, there was another war. This time, the text refers to the location as Gath. But some commentators say that Gob, also referred to in the Bible as Nob in some cases, or Gath are interchangeable. All agree that these are all one or more of the key cities of the Philistines. Anyway, at Gath, according to verse 20 of our text, there was another giant, a man of great stature, who had 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot. He had also been born to a giant. And this time, Jonathan, the son of David's brother Shimei, struck him down. By the way, this 6-digit phenomena is a known one. It is believed that the eldest son of the emperor of Java, who reigned in 1649, had 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot. As a matter of fact, I personally know of one person who was born with an extra finger on one hand, but had it operated on very soon after birth. And the chapter ends in verse 22, telling us that these 4 Philistines had been born to the giant in Gath, whose name may have been Rapha, R-A-P-H-A, and they were all killed by David and his men. We're going to stop there and dig a little further. In my research, I learned that the name Rapha, who is supposed to be the recent origin of these giants, or recent at that time origin of the giants as used in this passage, has the definite article before it, like the Rapha, and thus it may be intended to refer to a group of people, the Rapha, rather than a single individual with this name. You can decide. Hebrew text referred to Elhanan as the son of Jer-oregim. That second word, oregim, after the hyphen means weavers. It's assumed to have been accidentally included here. Interestingly, it does appear at the end of the verse, where it belongs, in reference to the Philistines' spear, and it doesn't refer to the Israelite Elhanan. Now we come to the more controversial matter, that of Goliath, the giant that we knew, and who killed him. For this we turn to the notes of the New English Translation, which I highly recommend, by the way. It says, quote, "The Hebrew text as it stands reads, Elhanan, son of Jer-oregim, the Bethlehemite, killed Goliath the Gittite." Okay, who killed Goliath the Gittite? According to 1 Samuel 17, verses 4 to 58, it was David who killed Goliath. Now note that a Gittite is simply a citizen of the Philistine city of Gath, or one of their cities of Gath. But according to the MT, or the Masoretic text of 2 Samuel 21:19 that we're reading here, it was Elhanan who killed him. Many scholars believe that the two passages are hopelessly at variance with one another and want to leave it at that. Others have proposed various solutions to the difficulty, such as identifying David with Elhanan or positing the existence of two Goliaths. But in all likelihood, the problem is the result of difficulties in the textual transmission of the 2 Samuel passage. The parallel passage in 1 Chronicles chapter 20, verse 5 reads, Elhanan, son of Jer, killed Lahmi, L-A-H-M-I, comma, the brother of Goliath, end of quote. Now, both versions are textually suspect. The Chronicles text appears to have misread the word for Bethlehemite as a so-called accusative sign, that's one form of grammar or another, followed by a proper name. It was a term that was applied to Hebrew text, or is applied to Hebrew text by the scholars. While the Samuel text appears to have misread the word for brother as that accusative sign, thereby giving the impression that Elhanan, not David, killed Goliath. Thus, according to the NET, in all probability, the original text actually read, quote, Elhanan, son of Jer, the Bethlehemite, killed the brother of Goliath. In any case, we seem to have a problem for the common man, but suffice it to say that what we learned in Sunday school was still the truth. David killed the Goliath of fame. Now, here are a couple of other things we should note from this passage. First, even a great man of God gets old and weary and loses some of his strength, as did David. We should know when it is time for us to slow down. Something that I found very hard to learn and to know. We should have people around us that will still care enough to tell us when that time comes, and that we will listen to when they advise us to stop doing certain things. One of my daughters has already told me that when she feels I shouldn't drive any longer, she'll see to it that I have no car keys. Of course, that is what I did to my dad when the time came. I actually sold his car while he was on a trip to Europe. I can only hope my daughter will be reasonable as to when that day comes. We also note in this passage that David was then protected through the strength of others who fought off and killed his personal battle enemies. Lesson from David here? Simply this. While some things we need to do ourselves, we must accept the help of others at other times and for other things. And we must know when it's time to change our roles. That's it. Next time we'll start looking at the end of David's reign. You'll never believe what he did first in that stage of his life. Join us for that. In the meantime, I would urge you to keep on studying your Bible. Preferably, you can also pass these videos on to others, share them to others on social media. Like our video on YouTube, and we'd really appreciate it, as many have done already, but we'd like more to do so, to like our YouTube channel, Digging for Scriptural Gems.